at Northern Kentucky University, and I'm honored to moderate this session. We have an excellent group of speakers here who will be joining us in the discussion very soon. Just to remind you, this session is about cybersecurity and private sector. So some of the questions that comes to mind, what do we know about this topic? What do we think that we know? Why it matters? So if you take the first simple question and try to remember what happened, or the session that happened early morning, what do we know? What do we know is in a simple way, cyber attacks and incidents are growing, and they are costly, and in many cases, they could be damaging to many sectors. What do we think that we know? Probably we think that we are in control to some extent, but as a matter of fact, maybe we are not totally in control of what's going on. Why it matters? Simply because I'm going to take a different angle a little bit than what the speakers in the morning mentioned. What they mentioned is really great. It's a national security issue. It is very, very important for civic rights and democracy. And that's all great. But also it's important because the economic welfare of the society depends on the growth of the private sector. And the private sector cannot grow when they have in the back of their field the fear of the cyber attacks and cyber incidents. If we go back to the basic economic theory of Adam Smith, what are the elements of the wealth? We are talking about labor, we are talking about land and resources, we are talking about free market. And free market is critically important because free market is the engine of the economic development. And when you are talking about free market and talking about the wealth of a nation, you need the private sector to be totally empowered to be able to move the society and achieve the welfare of the individuals in that society. Imagine a private sector that's worried all the time about data breach, worried all the time about all my research R&D will be stolen by someone, worrying about the public trust and customer trust, how the private sector can grow while they are struggling with all these issues, and they don't have a framework to protect the individual companies and the private sector in general. So this topic is a very important topic to all of us, and I will start with asking each speaker to introduce herself or themselves and say something interesting and their opening statement. Natia, you can go ahead and start.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank host for invitation, for having me here, and it's first time for me to be here. Amazing university. Congratulations with the conference. I'm presenting the ICT Association. I'm board member of association. Also, I am CEO of Exact Pro Systems Georgia. I'm also co-founder and president of Software Testers Association in Georgia. And the funny thing and more interesting, I think it will be that I'm mother of twins, and which is, I would say, the most challenging thing for me. On the one hand, it's funny, definitely, but at the same time, it's really difficult. Yes. I would like to say a couple of words about ICT Association. Maybe it will be interesting for you. I think so. Actually, it was launched back in 2020 or 2021. But the management of the board at the time was a different one, and we stepped in last year, the beginning of last year, 2024. The main goal, but it consists of the several organizations and the companies from technology sector. We are around 20 plus organizations there, and majority of them are international ones. It's not good to mention a couple of them because it will not be very fair comparing with the others. So anyone interested can check about the organizations. And the main idea of the goal of association is fostering the IT sector in Georgia and support the growth of technology sector in the country. It means that it is connected with variety of the directions, starting, for example, advocating the technology sector, technology companies in the country, or it's connected with the development education sector in the country as well. It can be collaboration with universities, with training centers, an initiative project or program that really is into and connected to the development of education in the country. And many other aspects. For example, empowering women in tech, having more women in technology sector is one of the directions as well. And many other things that is overall and globally connected to the fostering and support growth of technology sector in the country. Yes, I will not speak other remits right now and here, but now returning back to the cybersecurity, our main topic, and how it's from business perspective and from management side. I mentioned that I'm also leading ExactPro. ExactPro is an independent AI-enabled software testing service provider for financial organizations. And it was founded in 2009. The headquartered in the UK and delivery centers in different locations. And one of them is in Georgia. I'm leading delivery center here. Our clients are like top clients worldwide from financial industry. And I'm moving to the side that cybersecurity, information security is quite important for us. And starting from, for example, speaking about the standards, definitely we follow the international standards, such as, for example, ISO IC 27001, and while we are setting technical measurements inside, for example, for us important to follow and have a resilient culture around the information security in the whole company and to have this culture. It means that we should have inside all the policies definitely updated, connected to information security, or awareness around the security, having trainings for the staff that needs to be updated quite often. Also strict protocols that, that is needed for the change or incident management. Speaking about the challenges, also for us right now, I can mention that it's connected with agility and the control at the same time, because, for example, if the threat occurs connecting with the third parties or the remote versions inside, it means that some decisions made by management can go to the risks and to the sites and prioritize to the sites that maybe not directly connected to have the impact of financial side, but it's purely connected to the trust to the client and the trust of the client to us, and sometimes such risks are prioritized. Speaking about decisions making from the management side, definitely here goes impact analysis, also business relevance case, and we have cross-functional team who is always involved. It consists of IT, legal team, operations, whom I missed, legal team. And it means that we are trying to understand that everything is according to the, every control is according to the policies and to the client expectations. And definitely we have the processes where we go through and check if everything is up to date, that mitigation strategy is met, it's more practical, not theoretical one. And that at the last point, what I mentioned is that cybersecurity, as everything in technology sector, is changing and everything goes very fast, and we need to keep a track and to follow all these changes. Otherwise, we may be up to date, we may miss something, we are losing the trust of the clients, and business might have big losses, or it can have a bad impact on this point.
Thank you. Lasha?
Thank you.
Thank you for such a good speech. Yeah. Also, I want to thanks for having me also here and for this great opportunity to meet all of you and to talk with us and to listen for the previous speakers with such valuable information. And I want to thanks Dr. Hassan also to mention the private sector and the importance of the private sector for the economics and for the cybersecurity of whole national cybersecurity. In terms of cybersecurity, I'm also representative of one of the private companies, and as a representative of developing country such as Georgia, I think private sector has the crucial role for developing not only the cybersecurity but also the economics to make the country more stable. And from this perspective, we all know that the cybersecurity for the private sector became one of the most crucial. Of course, nowadays everything is going through the digitalization. We all have some threats. We all have some emerging technologies that must be implemented and must be followed up. And nowadays, private sector has one of the crucial roles in this. For example, as in private cybersecurity companies, financial sector, telecommunications, and others and others. And from my perspective of view, as one person, I'm crucial with looking for important things, to catching some very interesting insights from different cultures. I want to mention that as usually when I'm traveling or seeing something interesting in other parts of the country or other countries, I'm always looking to capture something interesting that will be important for Georgia as a developing country to make some good ideas to translate it from the different states, different countries to our private sector that will always collaborate with the public sector. And to be sure to get the results, to get the goals, to achieve all the goals that not only the country have, but also the private sector has. It's very important to collaborate with public sector and public and private sector collaboration. I'm very thankful for Georgian public side that we have the good platforms for collaboration. We have good opportunities to have such kind of interesting meetings and sharing some insights, especially previous speakers mentioned about national cybersecurity strategies, which while developing these strategies, public sector always has some communication channels with the private companies, and I'm grateful for this, that everybody can feel that they have some their inputs already give for the national cybersecurity. From the point of view as one of the representatives of the private companies, I think that nowadays there is two main points where we have to focus in Georgia as a developing country. One is, of course, capacity building in terms of knowledge, awareness that is crucial not only in Georgia but in all over the world. And a second one is to be scalable, to be agile, while emerging technologies needs to have such support, especially from the private sector, because we know that the resources from the public sector is much more strict and much less available, and every public company can have more effort to support the national cybersecurity, which also supports the national economics, to develop the capacity to give the opportunities for the persons such like me to get involved in some very interesting initiatives to support the developing of the country. And our main mission at this moment is to support main critical infrastructures, for example, to have them very good practices, to focus on fundamental practices for cybersecurity, and to have to be much more mature with all ongoing threats and so on. So every day when I'm looking from previous days what was happening in our company or in the country, it always gives us some new ideas how to make new initiatives for partners, for the people, how to make some capacity building planning much more effective than it's at this moment. And we are always trying to not only support the partners, also support the people who is interesting to be involved in cybersecurity and in technologies direction. Fortunately, I'm very grateful that in Georgia, maybe last few years, people became such more, how to say, they are involved, they want to get in this field, they want to be, become professionals and have some effort for their companies, for their country.
This is great. No, just you skipped introducing yourself. So
Yeah.
if you want to introduce yourself quickly, and then
Sure.
we'll move to Lasha.
I'm Giorgi, as you saw, from Smart Top, Deputy CEO, and maybe last 15 years, my experience is from the private sector, from the technological companies, mainly focused in cybersecurity and information security side.
Interesting facts about yourself.
And interesting facts from myself. To be sure, every moment when I'm not working, I'm having good time with friends or traveling or something like that, I'm always carrying my laptop with me to be always in touch with some new interesting points. At this moment, I don't have children. That will be much more complex for me for future, but. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Lasha?
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the NKU and SANGU to organize this event. So I will try to keep it in short. Basically, for those who know me, mostly know me by the case. Personally, me, I can say that my inspiration is something with technical problems. Personally, me, I have founded CASE as a response to Russo-Georgian War in 2008 because we saw complete lack of cyber capabilities, especially when we are saying about cyber defense capabilities. And this was our biggest motivation and inspiration for us to start something about cyber. So we were the first who have developed 15 years ago the cybersecurity awareness programs, as well as campaigns, ethical hacking training programs, the very first book, some of the first initiatives in the field, and we tried our best to establish this work. But back in the time, there was a huge problem getting a degree in the field. So thanks to NKU and SANGU Corporation, it became possible to get a valuable degree in the field. And could you just hit the space? It's gonna solve a lot. Yeah, that's the first book. One more. Okay, so we also conduct extensive research on international scale. One of our research that we are proud of is that we were one of the first who have exposed Russian offensive capabilities and their influences in US elections campaign. So basically this is what we do. About our holistic approach and how we see the cybersecurity in the field, I think that's a different topic for different questions, and we'll be happy to switch the slide again. That's it for now.
Okay, sounds good. I think we'll be back with some questions here, and my first one, I'm not sure, would like to come back here, or we'll continue the next part, is what is the most urgent cybersecurity risk that you are facing with your company? Lasha, can you take the question?
Okay. Nowadays, for example, from my previous experiences, I'll tell that the most crucial risks for the cybersecurity, or maybe last 2 or 3 years, was related to the country, because the Georgian market and Georgian companies with the geographical location are now in the target as usual, but in the last few years, and for the hackers and for from the different countries. And nowadays we are facing different type of attacks with different attack surfaces, different attack vectors. And it became, through the last few years, one of the most crucial risks. And at this point of view, also we have the different kind of weakness at this moment in the country, because, as I mentioned also, we are in the process of building capacity on the cybersecurity and awareness, and maybe some lack of capacity and the knowledge in different segments in the country and in the private sector, especially in, for example, in the small companies, small businesses. It became crucial because we all know that the fundamental principles are most important to deal with the cybersecurity risks. And at this point of view, some lack of capacities and skills at this moment in the country is one of the biggest risks to deal with type of different attacks and risks from the cybersecurity perspective.
Wonderful, thank you. I think one of the barriers of trying to have a successful cybersecurity system is some companies to treat cybersecurity as an IT issue rather than a business core issue. So what is the situation with your company? Do you still treat cybersecurity as IT or a business core function for the organization?
So one of the things that we take in the cybersecurity approach is the holistic one. We are known with 15 years of conducting intensive trainings in military, law enforcement, biggest corporations, and for the students. And we try to teach them with the same view, that it's not the best practice to separate technical with the human factor. Because in our case, and in Georgian experience, as well as in international level, and most of the research institutions agree that, starting from the Merrill Lynch, ending with the Gartner, that most of the cyber threats are originated from the insider. So data leaks, 80% at least, are more or less related to the human error, to the human factor. So when it comes to cybersecurity, we try to, at first, give them skills, give role-based trainings to the professionals who daily base operate on cyber defense front lines. But most importantly, we take our focal point on awareness. When we teach ordinary employees how to sense that something goes wrong, how to prevent anomalies, and if it happens, how to respond and coordinate with the team. So mostly we are joined the cybersecurity with intelligence, anti-terrorism, and other fields, and came out with a compilation where human factor stays the core vital factor.
Thank you. Before we go with the second part of Lasha's presentation, I would like to take any questions from you. Any question for the speakers? Yes, please, go ahead.
How do you protect a country? I mean, I know that there's going on a lot of cyber security attacks, and there's very few cybersecurity people who protects them. So in the numbers, there's so small people who are in cybersecurity, and how do you manage to do that?
Are you talking about protecting country or protecting company? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first.
A country.
Country, okay. Well, this is not the focus of this session, but if anyone would like to go ahead with this, please.
It is for now, because for a great amount of time, people had a different approach to this issue. There was decades ago that country and state had everything in its ownership and protection, starting from the energy, ending with the finances. But lately, it has shifted to the private sector. So if we take the critical infrastructure, for example, and I have my slides, if you guys can switch. If you go and see what is actually the components of the critical infrastructure, and I will be able to switch now, because
I think you are not okay.
just few clicks and you will see critical
The government
infrastructure on
one
the
is
slide.
government.
Few more. Go for it. Yeah, lots of graphics we missed today, but it is what it is. Please continue. Again. Little more. Further. There will be a time we will have that speech again, so little more. Yeah, that's the one. Thank you. So most of the components that nations worldwide rely on, the telecommunications, finances, energy, especially in the threats when it comes to power grids, right? We are all somehow expecting that within the next decade to happen, unfortunately. Most of the key players in the critical infrastructure are the private companies. So it is not the gold anymore, the key asset. It's the data. And fortunately or unfortunately, but it is what it is, the companies have that data most of the times. So I guess protecting the private sector and key components of the critical infrastructure would be a primary front line against cyber offensive operations. So that will be my first point to your question.
That's a great. One more question from the audience before. Yep.
Okay, hello. So there has been quite a few, not few, but many data breaches across the governmental organizations throughout Georgia. One of them was way before, years back. There's a database of people who live in Georgia. And I don't know how, but it got out of the organization itself. And people, like ordinary people, got access to it. Like the entire database where you can get people's information just from their names, just by searching it up and so on. And I would like to know if there are plans to reinforce the security of this kind of information in the governmental facilities and so on.
Maybe I'll start, okay. Thank you for the question. It's well-known cases in last years, and yes, firstly, it was maybe from the public organizations, but as Lasha mentioned, and the previous speakers already mentioned that one of the starting point for protecting this type of data, this type of assets, is starting from the strategy, how we are planning. During these last years, as I already mentioned, public and private sector collaboration became more stable, more active, and to be sure, without the private sector, only public sector cannot deal with it. It's mostly must be focused to collaboration. As Lasha mentioned, the most assets, most knowledge, and everything is dependent on the private sector. At these cases that you mentioned, yeah, it's well known. We can say which source was for the data breach, yeah. But sure, it needs to improve. This strategy must be followed up and involved by different type of companies from the private sector, from the public sector, and there must be the complex approach to deal in the future with this type of incidents for the data breaches, starting from the fundamental principles, ending with the cybersecurity solutions, and so on. It's complete chain on which I'm sure that also the CERT and other public organizations are working, and in sometimes collaborating with the private sector. One of the most important way is to have the system approach, how to protect everything, and to follow this in the way the previously colleagues mentioned, different frameworks, for example, ISO standards or other frameworks from the NIST, or also we have NIST Directive and other ones. But the main approach, how to deal with this type of incidents not to happen so often, is to follow all the steps that is required from the best practices and standards to have the approach within the strategy and collaborating with the private sector to assist the national cybersecurity. This is a national cybersecurity issues.
Thank you. I love this slide, and it was not coordinated. I started my speech talking about the wealth of the nation for Adam Smith and the needs actually to reevaluate this economic theory and adding digital transformation and cybersecurity as one of the elements for the economy. And I believe it should be. When Adam Smith wrote this wealth of the nation long time ago, he has land, labor, resources, free market, and now we need to add this economic theory, digital transformation, and cyber security. So Lasha, why do you have this slide here?
Again, if we take a look at the recent conflicts, that would be Ukraine, that will be most recent for the last 7 or 8 days, if I'm not wrong. We see extensive use of technologies, technological aspects and fifth dimensional aspect of the warfare, where we see cyber intelligence, cyber reconnaissance, cyber attacks. And I think the criminals and nation states, the adversaries, are going to be using the soft target rich environment and targeting the targets like banking sector, because the threats that are created in the virtual space can come out of this space and create the real damage in the real world. So basically our idea is that protecting national security in the modern times mostly relies on protecting the information security and cyber security and making sure that every defensive capability is in place and properly managed.
Wonderful. One of the issues that any economy faces is small businesses are part of the engine of the economic development. While larger corporations have the resources to create a cyber security defense system, small businesses don't. So how can small business protect itself from cyber attacks and incidents when they don't have enough resources to do this?
There are lots of resources, maybe not localized specifically, but with the help of AI, I think it's going to be solved within the next few months, because it dramatically increases the access for all of the users. But there is a lot of awareness, and I think everyone who works in the field, whether it be a MS student from the NKU has experience or skills, or a company who more or less conducts within the social responsibility program, they should do something about awareness, because we all have responsibility to educate people. And it's not only the responsibility, it's also more smart way to conduct security operations, because when it comes to operational security, the humans and human factor is just like this IDS. I mean, serving as a sensor, keeping all the anomalies, and most of the times they are the first who are engaged as the targets. So I guess education, awareness programs, more literature on the local side as well, and access is here. Perfect.
Question from the audience? Anyone with?
Can I ask one more thing, if
Please
possible?
Yep.
If that's okay.
Please go ahead.
If somebody else has a question, they can ask first.
Please go ahead. I don't see any hands. So.
Okay. So when you started the slide, I saw the few key points that you had about the creation of the case, like company itself. And one of the second case, like the reason why it was created was because of the 2008 war. Am I correct?
Last slide, please.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to the rest of the slide, but sadly it was cut short.
Yeah.
And one thing I would like to ask is that basically once I saw that key point, the first thing that came to my mind was the incident where the internet was cut out throughout the entire Georgia right before the war started.
Yes.
And starting from that, I got a thought about all the companies that were created in the past didn't really reinforce the cybersecurity itself within their databases and so on, considering that back in the day, the computers and technology wasn't that advanced, and they just didn't take it into consideration that they would need to defend data and everything else that also came with the computers and technology. And the question I want to ask is that there are many companies like that still who don't have reinforced cybersecurity. And what do you think, like, how hard it is to include the cybersecurity on the right now established companies that never had it before, like properly reinforced?
Great question. Lasha?
Enforcing of cybersecurity ecosystems in all of the companies, if I get it right. Yep. So, and what was the lessons from 2008? First and foremost, if you will see our report, and we were the first in the whole planet who said that it was the first cyber war, actually. There are specific legal reasons why we call 2008 events the cyber war. You can see our report on the website at globalcase.org, and there are a list of specific targets that were hit during this, the intense cyber attacks. And most of the targets were information agencies, small private companies, some of the social network assets like groups or communities on different platforms for the companies as well. And most of the interest of adversaries and Russian intelligence services primarily was to somehow stress our informational channels, to override their disinformation on top of our legitimate information. And even the Ministry of Foreign Affairs wasn't able to send the documents and information to the journalists and diplomats all around the globe. So this was the primary reason of attacking private sectors. Confusion, disinformation, propaganda, and to somehow decrease our support, international support, which at the end led us to somehow resisting these further events of war that could even be even worse than could happen. When it comes to enforcing the security, in Georgia, we are mostly, we have different mentalities in different countries when it comes to dealing with the security. So in Georgia, we are reactives. So that means that we mostly act when something happens, when something really hits the fan, if you know what I'm saying. So I think the shift of mentality is not that easy, but when it comes to policies and technologies, by the way, for the recent years, government has done a few interesting things about that, because they have defined the critical infrastructure objects. They have enforced for some of the key targets to have the policies and procedures in place. And these are the good initiatives that would help boost. But mostly, I would say the security IQ is the answer. If you have security IQ, you are more aware about the risks. If you are aware about the risks, you are thinking about the countermeasures. If you are thinking about countermeasures, you are doing something to implement and execute and somehow prevent the cyber threats. So I guess we are on the right path, and I guess within the next few years, especially with the help of AI, which is not going to be always bright and good, it has its very dark side to the cybersecurity, we will be forced even further to react. It's not going to be preventive measures, but we will react in a dramatic manner because we will have to.
That's a great point to conclude this session. And again, cybersecurity, if I'm talking about DS, many companies consider this to be a strategic priority. A survey that was done recently with the 500 Fortune company, 68% of the executives said that cybersecurity is one of the top priority for their companies. What does it mean? It will be part of their strategic planning, part of their initiatives. They will never be reactive to an incident, but taking the matter in their hands because it's very important for their companies. With that, thank you very much for our panelists here. And thank you for